why does God allow people to go to hell? To answer this, I will define what sin is, answer how hell is an appropriate response to sin, and talk about the ultimate purpose of God. I will let Romans 1:22 through 23 define sin for us. It says, claiming to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things. They exchanged the glory of God for something else. This is what sin is. It is preferring something else over God, and all other sins are merely expressions of this. So then how is hell an appropriate and just response to sin? You may think to yourself, my sins aren't all that bad. How can they be deserving of an eternity spent in punishment? And we get an answer in James chapter 2, verse 10. For whoever keeps the whole law but fails in one point has become guilty of all of it. See, if you have fallen in just one point, you have become guilty of the entire law. And guys, this should humble us. It should bring us to our knees in humility, and it should dispel all judgment towards other people and all self-righteous piety within ourselves. See, it's not the degree of sin that determines its guiltiness, and neither is it the time spent sinning. See, it may raise the question, how can a lifetime, say 80 years of sinning, even guilty of the whole law, be deserving of an eternity spent in punishment? And that's because the guiltiness of sin is not determined by time spent sinning or degree of the sins, but rather by the one whom we sin against. See, when we sin against an infinitely valuable God, who is infinitely worthy of all praise and honor and glory, it is deserving of infinite punishment. And sin cannot go unpunished. It must not go unpunished, lest the name of God be trampled on. In order that the name of God be upheld, it must be dealt with. Which leads me to my next point, which is the ultimate purpose of God, namely to uphold and display the honor and glory, the infinite value of His name. That is God's ultimate purpose, and we see it explicitly in Isaiah chapter 48, verses 9 and 11. For my name's sake I defer my anger. For the sake of my praise I restrain it for you, that I may not cut you off. For my own sake I do it. For how should my name be profaned? My glory I will not give to another. This is God's ultimate purpose in everything. While God has many purposes in all of His workings, this purpose alone umbrellas everything else. So then why does God allow people to go to hell? And since we see that sin demands eternal punishment, the question can really be, why does God allow sin? And Paul answers this very question in Romans chapter 9, 22 through 23, where he says, what if God, desiring to show His wrath and to make known His power, has endured with much patience vessels of wrath prepared for destruction, in order to make known the riches of His glory, for vessels of mercy, which He has prepared beforehand for glory? Let me just reiterate the purposing parts of this passage. Desiring to show His wrath and make known His power, in order to make known the riches of His glory. This is the reason God allows people to go to hell, to display and make known the riches of His glory. Guys, there's great news here, because hell was not the only response God had to our sin. No, He had another response, which was the cross. He came down, lived as a man, suffered and died for us so that He could pay that price for us. You see, the cross was not only necessary for our salvation, but it was necessary to uphold the name of God and display the riches of His glory.